The Book of the Courtier, written by Count Baldassare Castiglione. It may surprise you to know that etiquette has always been a subject about which people were intensely interested. The Book of the Courtier, which we will be discussing today, was first published in 1528. Now, at this time, there was a lot of political change. And what every young man needed to know to get ahead in this world, he had to be taught. And since tutors were expensive people, etiquette books were extremely popular. The Courtier itself went through several editions. It went over it was a bestseller, running to 100 editions, printed over the next 200 years. Now, what on earth could cause a book to be that popular? Well, part of it is what every young man needed to know. And at the back of the book, there's a list. It's rather interesting, because not anyone could do this. This was a deliberate education on how a rising young man could make it, or, in point of fact, how a young woman to be well born and of good stock. Now, this does not mean an aristocrat, although that did help. But you had to be at least of the gentry, to be of mean stature, and in good proportion. No hunchbacks or disabled need apply. To be portly and amiable in countenance, reasonably good looking, reasonably fit, not to be womanish in how you spoke or what you did, your mannerisms, not to praise himself unashamedly and out of reason, not to boast of his good acts and good qualities, to shun affectation or curiosity, to do his feats as if they were easy. So you do all of your practice where no one's watching. So you get very, very good at it. Use a recklessness to cover art. Not to care about trifling news, gossip. Not to be chatty. Not to be stubborn, willful, full of contention. Nor to be contrary, just for the sake of being spiteful. Not to be a babbler, a brawler, or lavish of his tongue. Not to be given to vanity and lightness. Not to be a liar, not to be a flatterer. To be well-spoken and fair-languaged. To be wise and be able to discuss. To have a judgment, to frame himself in the manner of the country wherein he finds himself. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. to be able to supply evidence, or at least probable reasons, to back up whatever your case is on what you're talking about. To be able to speak Italian, French, and Spanish. To direct all things to a good end. To behave in such a way that everywhere he goes, men may first conceive a good opinion of him before he comes there. In other words, have a good reputation that precedes you. To hang about with the best sort of men. Wise men, not con men. To play at dice and cards, not always for money's sake, just to be, But don't fume and chafe and fluff and fuss about your losses. To be able to play chess. To be pleasantly disposed. To having a good time when in good company. To speak and write the language that most people are speaking wherever you happen to be, whatever the party is, without inventing new words. Hugely. Being a prior example. To be handsome and clean in his apparel. Wear darkish colors. To make his garments after the fashion. And those to be black or of some darkish color, not garish. To get him a special and hearty friend to accompany him. Not to be ill-tongued, especially against his better. Not to be saucy or presumptuous. Not to be envious or malicious. To be honest, fair-conditioned, and of an upright conscience. To have the virtues of mind, such as justice, manliness, wisdom, temperance, staidness, noble courage, and sobriety. To be more than indifferently well seen in Latin and Greek. Not to be rash, or to persuade himself that he knows what he doesn't. To confess his ignorance at the right time and place. To be... If people ask him to show off a skill, do so. Don't, Don't push yourself forward, but then don't hang back either. To be able to draw and paint. To dance well, without being too good. To sing well. To play the lute. To play the viola. And other instruments. Be pleasant. Be a merry talker. Be able to tell a story. But not to use sluttish and ruffian-like pranks with any man. Not to be a jester or a scoffer. To put any other man out of countenance. To consider who you taunt when and where. For don't mock the poor, the aged, men of authority, persons giving to mischief. To be skilled in all kinds of martial feats, both on horseback and foot, and well practiced. To play well at fencing, with all the weapons. To hunt and hawk. To be able to play tennis. To be able to manage a horse. Be a good horseman regardless of the saddle you have to use. To swim well. To leap. To run. To vault. To wrestle. to throw the stone, to cast the bars or the javelin, to run well at the tilt and the ring, to tourney. I always tried to win. When he goes out to do these things, he has to present himself and his horse in the proper fashion. Don't be the last one to show up at the lists or the jousts. But this time you are allowed to be garish and very colorful and bright and cheerful. To be bold in war. But not to hazard himself in foraging or in enterprises of great danger and small estimation. Even though he might win it, wasn't worth the battle. Not to serve a wicked person. Not to seek to come up in rank and seek promotion by bad practices. By lying, cheating. No cheating. Even if your boss says so, don't do wickedness or evil. Obey orders. Show respect to those above you in rank. Seek to gain his approval. Not to seem to be kowtowing and begging. Don't be sad or melancholy. Don't ask your boss for anything. Seldom or never, it says. To be honest and reasonable when you ask for favors for others. To be pleasant when telling him news in a private fashion without flattery or lies. Not to love promotion so that a man should think he could not live without them, or to beg for any office. To consider well what it is that he does or says, and where, in the presence of whom, what time, why, his age, his profession, the end and the means. His conversation with women. To be always gentle, sober, meek, lowly, modest, serviceable, comely, merry, not biting, slandering with jest, frumps, railings. Don't give the lady a hard time. His love towards women not to be sensual or fleshly, but honest and godly, and more ruled with reason than appetite, and to love better the beauty of the mind than of the body. Not to pay any bit of attention to a rival. You have no rival. Jealousy? Oh no. You don't have a rival. Of course you're always friendly to the poor fellow if he happens to be there, but you know he has no chance. Not to withdraw his mistress's goodwill from his fellow lover by yelling, fighting, being jealous at him. That's what he says. Don't be jealous. Don't make a fool out of yourself. The lady will choose. Can you imagine having to learn all that? Greek, French, Italian, Latin, Spanish. How to play with all the weapons. Ride a horse, leap, run, swim. Play this musical instrument. Paint. Draw. Good heavens, it's quite an education you have to have in order to be a courtier. Even to how to dress, how to pay attention to women, how to treat other people around you, other men, other women, your boss, your subordinates, everything. This is a book that is rather large and hefty. And it's here presented in a untranslated fashion. So the language might be a little difficult. It's in the style of conversations taking place over 4 days in a ladies' court. It is, however, a mixed group, and they are discussing various points in greater detail than just the list in the back. I won't read the one for women. It is quite similar to the one for men, except for all the martial endeavors and, having a boss. Because, of course, in this society, the court, women don't have a boss. It is not legally true, because her husband, of course, is her boss, legally. But within the household and in the court, oh no. Oh no, no, no. Men are secondary. So, you see, education can maketh the man, and knowing how you're supposed to behave, and yet not behaving like you know you should, doesn't mean you're edgy, you're out there. Oh, he's such a bad boy. No, it means you're a bully and a lout, and not really worth anyone's time. Etiquette. It's been around for a long time. And if anyone wishes to get ahead in this world, you know what you have to do. Anyway, book is available from independent publisher lulu.com for a not inconsiderable sum. You might actually even enjoy it, because in certain ways it is quite funny. Thank you for watching. Please come again.